All right, so what we're going to do here is we're going to use a system of equations to solve a word problem. This is really the good use for systems because when we don't know more than one thing, it allows us to set up multiple equations. So this is a simplified situation. So we've got Keisha and Joanne. They're really hungry, and they are buying jam and pies at a farm stand. Mrs. Barrymore, who is selling this stuff, sells all the jars of jam for one price. It doesn't matter what kind of jam you buy from her. She also sells all her pies for the same price. Keisha, she goes and she pays $37.50 for 5 jars of jam and 2 pies. Joanne pays $40.50 for 4 jars of jam and 3 pies. And so what we want to know is what's the individual price of each item. Maybe they've both lost their receipts and they don't know how much each cost. So the way you go through a word problem, first, you have to identify what you're looking for. So the question at the end says, what's the price of each item? So there are 2 things we're looking for. We want to know how much does jam cost. We want to know how much do pies cost. So always define your variables so that way when you get to the end, you know exactly what you found. So I'm going to let X equal the jam price, and I'm going to let Y be the pie price. And so now what we're going to do is we are going to use the totals that we are told that Keisha and Joanna paid, and that is going to allow us to figure this out. So here goes. We are told this. This is key. Keisha pays $37.50 for 5 jars of jam and 2 pies. All right, so here goes. 5 jars of jam. Well, if X is the cost of 1 jar of jam, then 5 jars of jam would be 5X. And then 2 pies. Well, again, if Y is the cost of 1 pie, then 2Y is the cost of 2 pies. And that's going to equal the $37.50 that she paid. Next, Joanna pays $40.50 for 4 jars of jam and 3 pies. So we've got 4 jars of jam. So if X is the cost of 1 jar, then 4X is the cost of 4 jars, plus 3 pies. If Y is the cost of 1 pie, then 3Y is going to be the cost of 3 pies, and that equals $40.50. So there's my system of equations. Now I'm going to solve this by elimination. It doesn't matter, I've said this earlier, it doesn't matter whether you cancel the X's or the Y's. I have no secret reason for doing this. I'm going to cancel the X's. Okay, so notice 5 and 4. What's the common multiple between them? Well, 5 and 4, the common multiple is going to be 20. Okay, so you do that in the same way as you'd find the denominator, a common denominator of 2 fractions. And so what I need to do then is I need to multiply each of these equations by something so that I have a 20 and a negative 20 in front of my variables. So I'm going to multiply the top by 4 because 4 times 5 will give me positive 20. Then I'm going to multiply the bottom by negative 5 because negative 5 times 4 is negative 20. The signs have to be different. You might be thinking, Mr. Perkins, could I have done a negative 4 in the top and a positive 5 in the bottom? Yes, you could. Thumbs up for that. So it does not matter which one the positive one is and which one the negative one is. So here we go. 4 times 5, that is 20x. 4 times 2, that is 8y. And then 4 times 3750, I need to do this on my scratch work because I don't have a calculator with me. So if you have your calculator, 12, that's 15. So that looks like it's going to be $150. I'm just going to leave the decimals. Then when I do negative 5 times the bottom one, negative 5 times 4 is negative 20. X. Negative 5 times 3 is negative 15y. And then negative 5 times 40, 50. So 40, 50 times 5 is 0. 20, that's a 2. That's 202.50. So it's negative 202.50. Now when I add these things together, I'm going to write it over there. So 20x and negative 20x, those cancel. 8y minus 15y is negative 7y. And then 150 and negative 202.50 is negative 52.50. Sorry to have to scrunch that in. When I divide both sides by a negative 7, I get y, so negative divided by negative is positive. And so 7 goes into 52. What's that going to be? 7 times. It's going to leave me 3. So that's going to be 750. So this is why we defined our variables at the very beginning. What is y? Well, I come back up here. Y is the cost of a pie. So what I know right now is that a pie costs $7.50. Always use units when you're writing your answer for the word problem. And then to figure out how much the jam cost, I take that y value and I plug it into either of my equations. Okay, so if you don't mind, I'm just going to do a slight bit of erasing here so I have some room to actually do this. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to use this top equation. So I'm going to take the 750 and I'm going to put it in for y. So I have 5x plus 2 times 750 is equal to 3750. 2 times 750, 750 and 750, that's going to be 15. I'm going to subtract the 15 from both sides. And I get 5x is equal to, let's say that's going to be 2250. And when I divide both sides by 5, I get that the value of x is equal to, 5 goes into 22 4 times. That leaves me 450. So x is my jam. So a pie costs $7.50 and jam costs $4.50. And there you go. That's how you use the system of equations to solve a word problem.